My name's Emily Carter, and right now, I'm standing in the middle of a place that smells like success. Polished chrome, fresh leather, and just a hint of my vanilla perfume lingering in the air. My heels click softly against the marble floor as I make my way to the front desk. Outside the glass wall, the morning sun spills across the lineup of sleek, gleaming cars. Each one carries a price tag bigger than my entire annual salary back when people used to laugh at me. I take off my sunglasses and glance at the framed photo on the reception counter. Me, holding the keys to my very first showroom. I smile because I know the truth. Nobody here would believe where I started. My assistant, Paige, hands me my coffee. "You've got a visitor, Emily," she says, tilting her head toward the lobby. And then, I see him. Jake Miller. The same guy who, years ago, pointed at my rusty old Honda in the high school parking lot and laughed loud enough for the whole world to hear. My fingers tighten around the warm paper cup. My pulse picks up. He's looking around, clearly impressed, probably assuming I'm just another sales rep here. He has no idea. 1,000 memories rush back in an instant. The stares. The whispers. The feeling of shrinking into the driver's seat so nobody would see me. And now, fate has walked him straight into my territory. I can still feel the sting of that afternoon like it was yesterday. 17 years old, broke, and just trying to make it through my senior year without drawing too much attention. My car, a faded, dented '98 Honda Civic, was my lifeline. It rattled like a tin can on wheels, but it got me to school and my part-time job at the grocery store. That day, I'd parked near the back of the lot, hoping no one would notice. But of course, Jake and his buddies were hanging around, leaning on their shiny trucks and laughing about something. The moment I turned the key, my engine let out a loud, choking cough, like it was gasping for air. Jake's head whipped around. His grin widened. "Hey, Emily, is that your ride, or did the junkyard let you borrow it?" he yelled. His friends burst into laughter. My cheeks burned hot, but I forced a smile. "It runs," I said quietly, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Jake smirked. "Barely." I drove off, pretending I didn't hear the rest of their jokes. But when I got home, I sat in the driveway, staring at the cracked dashboard, feeling about 2 inches tall. That night, my grandma, Rose, found me in the kitchen, still holding back tears. She set a chipped mug of tea in front of me and said, "Sweetheart, a car doesn't define your journey. The driver does. But if you want more, you'll have to drive yourself there. No one else will do it for you." Her words hit deep. She was right, no one was coming to save me. If I wanted respect, I had to earn it. A week later, I took my first step. I picked up extra shifts at the store. I applied for part-time work at the local Ford dealership, even though I knew nothing about cars beyond how to drive mine. I started saving, not just for a better car, but for something bigger, though I didn't know what yet. I stopped caring about fitting in. My focus shifted to getting out of the small-town gossip, out of the cycle of feeling less than. The day I got the call from the dealership offering me a job, even just as a receptionist, I knew it was the start of something. I didn't know how far I'd go, but I was ready to find out. Working at the Ford dealership wasn't glamorous. My first desk sat right by the front door, where I greeted customers and made coffee runs for the sales guys. They barely noticed me unless they needed a file pulled or a phone answered. But I noticed everything. The way they closed a deal with a firm handshake. How they read people's faces when they walked through the door. The way they turned features into benefits, benefits into excitement, and excitement into signatures on a dotted line. I started staying late after my shift, pretending to organize paperwork while secretly reading product manuals and finance brochures. I watched online videos about sales psychology and took notes in a spiral notebook. A few months in, I met Linda Vargas, one of the only women in the building and the top-performing sales consultant. She had a confidence that didn't just fill a room, it owned it. One night, she caught me reading a training binder after hours. "You thinking about selling cars, Emily?" she asked, leaning on my desk. I laughed nervously. "I don't think anyone here would take me seriously." She smiled. "Then make them." Linda started mentoring me, teaching me how to talk to customers, how to explain features without drowning them in jargon, and most importantly, how to listen. My first sale came almost by accident. A couple walked in, looking for a used SUV. Everyone else was busy, so I offered to show them the lot. I remembered every tip Linda had given me: smile, listen, guide them toward what they actually need. 2 hours later, they signed the papers. My commission wasn't huge, but it was the first time I felt the rush of closing a deal. From there, I was unstoppable. I moved into sales officially within a year. My income doubled. I saved every extra dollar. Nights were still late, weekends still busy, but I loved it. I started networking with local business owners, learning about finance, leasing, and dealership management. When I posted on social media, I kept it modest: pictures of coffee at my desk, maybe a new pen or notebook. No one from my past suspected I was climbing the ladder. By the time I was 27, I had bought my first investment property. At 29, I became the general sales manager of a luxury dealership. But I didn't stop there. With my savings, smart investments, and a partnership offer from Linda, I took the leap. We bought out an underperforming luxury showroom, renovated it, and filled it with the kind of cars I used to dream about when I was that embarrassed teenager in the old Honda. I didn't invite anyone from my hometown to the grand opening. I didn't need to, because deep down, I knew the day would come when the past would walk straight into my showroom. And now, that day had arrived. Jake is standing by the lobby, his hands in his pockets, looking around like a kid in a candy store. The sun from the glass wall reflects off the polished hoods of cars worth more than most people's homes. He doesn't recognize me at first, not in my tailored navy suit, not with my hair perfectly styled, not with the quiet authority I carry now. "Hi. Welcome to Carter Luxury Motors," I say, my voice warm but steady. "What brings you in today?" He looks up, squinting, and then his eyes widen. "Emily? Emily Carter." I nod. "That's me." A slow grin spreads across his face. "Wow, you work here? This place is insane. These cars are—" he whistles low. "Man, you've moved up from that old beater you used to drive." I smile, sipping my coffee. "Yes. Things have changed." He chuckles. "So, you're selling these now? That's impressive." My assistant walks past, setting a folder on my desk, a desk with a brass nameplate that reads, "Emily Carter, owner and CEO." Jake glances at it, blinks, then leans forward. "Wait, owner." I set my coffee down. "That's right. This is my showroom." Silence. It's like the hum of the air conditioning is suddenly louder than his breathing. "You own this," he finally says. "All of it," I reply, my tone calm but deliberate. "Every car you see here. Every sale. Every key that gets handed over." He lets out a small laugh, but it's not confident anymore. "Wow. I didn't know you went into cars." "That's because you weren't paying attention," I say. "Back then, all you saw was an old Honda. You didn't see the girl who was willing to work for something better." He shifts awkwardly, looking around as if the floor tiles might save him from the weight of the moment. "Yeah, I was a jerk in high school." I tilt my head. "Yes, you were." Another silence, longer this time. Then, he clears his throat. "Listen, I'm actually looking to upgrade my car. Thought I'd check out the options here. Maybe you could, hook me up with a deal?" I study him for a long second. "I'm sure we can find you something that suits you," I say slowly. "But here, respect is standard. It's not optional. We treat every customer the same, whether they drive in with a Ferrari or a rusted Civic." His gaze drops. "Right. Yeah, I get it." I walk over to the nearest car, a sleek black Aston Martin, and rest my hand on the hood. "When you laughed at me all those years ago, I promised myself I'd never let someone else define my worth. And now, I glance back at him. I get to decide who drives away from here." For the first time since he walked in, Jake looks genuinely humbled. "You've done well for yourself, Emily. Really well." I nod. "Yes, I have." And then I give him a small, almost playful smile. "So, should we start with the base models? Or are you feeling ambitious today? He chuckles lightly, but I can tell the balance of power has shifted completely. Because in this showroom, I'm not the girl he once mocked. I'm the woman who owns the keys. I could have ended it there, sold him a car, taken the commission, and sent him on his way. But standing in my own showroom, watching Jake avoid my eyes, I realized something. This wasn't just about him buying a vehicle. This was about rewriting the dynamic that had once made me feel small. So, Jake, I said, leaning casually against my desk, before we talk numbers, I need to know something. Why do you want to buy from me? He frowned. I mean, you've got great cars, clearly. And, oh well, you're successful. I figured you'd give me a good deal. I smiled faintly. You figured right, I do take care of my customers. But I also choose my customers. And part of that choice is making sure they understand what we stand for here. He raised an eyebrow. Which is? Respect, I said simply. For people. For their journeys. For the fact that the car someone drives today doesn't define where they'll be tomorrow. His shoulders slumped a little. Yeah, I wasn't exactly respectful back then. No, I agreed. But people can change. Here's the thing, I'll help you get the car you want. But I want something in return. His brow furrowed. Like what? First, I said, ticking it off on my fingers, you're going to pay full price. No old friend discounts. Second, you're going to publicly acknowledge, maybe even on your own social media, that success comes from hard work, not appearances. And third, I paused, letting him wait for it. You're going to do one good thing for someone who can't pay you back. No cameras, no credit. Just help someone. Jake blinked. That's not what I expected. I shrugged. Life's full of surprises. Do we have a deal? He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, deal. Good. I smiled, walking toward the showroom floor. Let's get you into something that fits you and your new mindset. Later that week, I got a message from him. A photo of a grocery receipt and a note. Paid for a single mom's groceries today. Felt good. Thanks for the push. It wasn't redemption. Not yet. But it was a start. And as I sipped my coffee in my office, sunlight glinting off the line of luxury cars outside, I thought about all the people who had once doubted me, who still didn't know I owned this place. Someday, they might walk through my doors too. And when they did, I'd decide what keys to hand them. A few weeks later, I stopped by my storage unit to drop off some old files. Buried in a small cardboard box, under a tangle of receipts and faded photographs, I found it, my old Honda's key. The black plastic top was scratched, the silver metal worn smooth from years of use. I held it in my palm, and for a moment, I was back in that cracked driver's seat, fingers trembling as I turned the ignition, praying the engine wouldn't stall in front of everyone. I remembered the sting of laughter from the parking lot, the shame that sat heavy in my chest. And then I remembered something else, the way Grandma Rose's voice steadied me that night over a chipped mug of tea. A car doesn't define your journey, sweetheart. The driver does. I slipped the key into a shadow box frame and brought it to my office the next day. It now hangs on the wall behind my desk, right above my first dealership license. Customers sometimes ask what it is, and I just smile and say, a reminder. Jake came back last week to pick up his new car. He shook my hand before leaving, and I could tell the arrogance was gone. Maybe he'd keep his word. Maybe not. But that wasn't my burden to carry anymore. I've learned that real power isn't proving people wrong just once. It's living in a way that makes their old judgments irrelevant. So now, when I walk into my showroom every morning, the smell of new leather in the air, sunlight bouncing off windshields worth six figures, I don't think about the people who once mocked me. I think about the girl in the old Honda who refused to give up. I think about the nights she worked 2 jobs, the mornings she showed up before sunrise, the weekends she studied instead of sleeping in. She was the driver who brought me here. And now, when people walk through my glass doors, wide-eyed at the beauty around them, I can't help but smile to myself and think. They once laughed at my car. Now they walk into my showroom, and it's my turn to hand them the keys.